Hey everybody, this is Josh Peralt back with another post-prison update video. A question I've been getting asked a lot lately is one that I have not even really talked to most of my family about, so here goes the big reveal, I guess. I get asked really often if I got any prison tattoos, and of course the answer to that is yes. I guess if I counted them individually, I think that including a bunch of small ones that I did myself, I have like 20 or 21, but if I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt, you can't tell. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the video about my prison tattoos, and I will talk a little bit about how they are done as well. So let's see what we have in store. The way that I receive most of my tattoos is what we call pick and poke in there. Some people call it stick and poke on the streets. This is not the most common type of prison tattoos. Most of them are done with handmade guns that are crafted from DVD players or that they rip out of, the movie rooms that we have for viewing, or occasionally barbershop, they will sell a guy some clippers and they'll use the clipper, the rotary wheel inside of the clippers or whatever it's called. Mine were not conventional because a lot of mine happened during boredom, during like being in the punishment bay in the shoe, or just not really caring to spend the money on getting an actual gun, or not knowing if my friend was good enough with a gun. So basically we just went in, all the way in with pick and poke. And we would take a staple, typically from a magazine or a piece of mail, and we would sharpen it on the ground. Yes, in a dirty cell floor, sharpen it until it was good and round and even, and that was about it, really. You take a staple and do that, then you would tape it to a pin, and then it's ready to go. As long as you have your technique. I like to curve mine just a little bit at the tip because I did do tattoos not only on myself but also on my friends. And for ink, you take anything that's Vaseline based. For ink, the most popular thing is like baby oil or Vaseline or A&D ointment, something that's like petroleum based, and you burn it. You pretty much just fill up a cup with it, stick a wick in it, which can even just be a rolled up piece of toilet paper, you'll be surprised. Light it on fire, and as long as that little tiny wick is the only thing that's actually burning, it will release tons of very, very dark black soot. You scrape that off, throw it in a toothpaste cap with a drop of water or a drop of shampoo, and ta-da. Now you got your sharpened staple, your little toothpaste cap full of ink, you dip, you stab, you poke. And that's about it. For transfers, we would draw the picture exactly like we wanted, rub some soap on our arm, put the piece of paper on there, put water on the back of it. There's also other methods using deodorant to transfer it. But like I said, my tattoo style that we were doing was less conventional than the standard, breaking out a handmade ghetto prison gun and doing it a lot better. Because I've seen some of the best tattoo artwork I've ever seen in my life that was done in prison with guns. Mine's not like that. Before anybody asks in the comments below, I don't have any gang tattoos. I was not affiliated with any gangs, so none of this stuff is any kind of gang related at all. But more so things that were important to me or even just cracked me up over time. Most of my tattoos were also done by the same guy, who is Chris Knight out of Defuniak Springs, Florida, but I'll call the guys as we show the tattoos off. So, hope you guys are ready for this. Let's get started. Alright, so obviously starting off, you can probably see that I have a large rib cage piece right here. This says innocent. You can get a close up, babe, don't be afraid. This says innocent. This was done by my friend Chris Knight out of Defuniak Springs, Florida, kind of towards the end of my initial prison sentence in the 5 years. He drew that by hand, doodled it out. It's actually got some really good shading in it. And this is actually 2 layers, and we did this with a staple that was sharpened down. This is the most excruciating pain I ever had from a tattoo, every single time. Every poke was like white lightning in the middle of my forehead, but it's permanent, so I dealt with it for hundreds of thousands of pokes. And I personally think that he did a great job on it for it being a staple. But you guys know the nature of my case. There it is. I got innocent tattooed on my ribcage because I was innocent of my charge. Next down here, we're going to have a crossed out heart, which I will probably get covered up soon because I love my wifey. But I didn't feel that way when I was in prison. I didn't know her the first time that I was in prison whenever I got this tattoo. And I was kind of over love in general because I was a little jaded asshole. But yeah, this represents, literally I called it the F love tattoo. So that's why I got that. I wanted to get it colored in and stuff, but that's not going to come to fruition now. I'm just going to find some way to cover it up or remove it. Now, the funny thing about that one is it's called F Love, but that's what I was going to get here. So forgive my little scruffy happy trail. But this is, I was going to actually get F Love right here, tattooed on my pelvis, but I got talked out of it by my friends. And again, forgive the fuzziness. It's significantly higher than you think it is, I promise. A little design that I came up with, it's just like a diamond and a heart, 2 hearts, a star, upside down and right side up. It says never forget, which is a reference to, pretty much everything. never forgetting memories, never forgetting the friends I made in prison, never forgetting the things that made me who I was throughout my past. Pretty much just a general phrase, although people are always like, what are you trying to not forget? And also we got some roses done. And all of this was done by Chris Knight, again, out of Defuniak Springs, Florida. He was my cellmate for a long time and a good friend of mine. I think he did a great job on the roses, although I did notice, Chris, that one of them is a lot darker than the other one. We went in twice on this one and the shading shows, in my opinion. So the four that are on my back are 3 skateboarding logos and an anarchy symbol. I wasn't exactly known for following the law, needless to say. I don't really recall exactly what order they're in, but if I'm not mistaken, it's Independent Skateboards over here, which is a trucks company. Next one is maybe Osiris. I got them backwards probably, but Osiris Shoe Company, an anarchy symbol, and the Zero Skateboarding skull. Those were actually a friend of mine's, or somebody that I thought was a friend of mine. It was his first 4 tattoos, and we took turns tattooing on each other in county jail, like was the norm. That's kind of how your payment is. You do a tattoo on me, and I'll do one on you. For his first one, they came out pretty well, I think, but they do have a second layer on them of ink that was done by my friend Stormy Rensheimer when I was back in prison this time. So, all in all, for a handmade tattoo, I know that they look a little bit sketchy, but for early work that can be fixed with a gun, I don't think they look that bad. I'm okay with it. Next up, we have another one from Chris Knight out of Defuniak Springs, Florida. This is Rocko from Rocko's Modern Life. You'll notice the ear is a little messed up, but for having been done with a staple, I think he did a really good job on it. I'd like to get it colored over and colored in and the lines done over again. His ear didn't attach all the way right there, but Chris took this picture from like a 1-inch tall picture of a t-shirt in an Alternative Press magazine, and pretty much copied it up to that size. So I think he did a really, really good job on it for what it is, and I'm satisfied with it personally. All right, so next up we got a couple below the knee right here. This is actually what is called a Darwin Fish. I'm sure a lot of people will get a kick out of that, but I personally have changed a lot in my spiritual beliefs, and I'm not going to get it covered up or anything, but that's not as funny as it once was to me. And this right here, forgive me, Chris, because I'm sure he's going to watch this. This is quite possibly the worst picture of Albert Einstein that was ever completed. For a staple, I will give him props. It came out okay. But he messed up the eyes, made the pupils a little too big, and then tried to kind of fix it, and now he just kind of looks like he's squinting or high or something like that. And it's also worth noting that he did want to go in and do another round on it, but I just kind of got a little bit, a little disenfranchised with it after this. But he could have probably fixed it up and made it look better. I decided to give up on it. But he did do some really good shading for having only a staple. It came out really well. He did contour the nose well, but the mustache came out looking like a lot of dots, and the hair kind of looks like Wacky Whaling inflatable arm flailing tube man. So that's the outside of the calf here. Okay, this is the very first tattoo that I got, actually. This is a bass clef, which is the music symbol. It's kind of the opposite of what you would recognize as the music symbol, which is called a treble clef. It represents the lower end of music, and specifically oftentimes on the piano or the string bass. It's kind of cartoonish a little bit. I actually got this in memory of my bass player from when I was in my high school band that passed away of brain cancer when he was 18 years old. I was going to get rest in peace with his name around it, but the guy was really drunk when he did this, and you can see that it scarred up very badly. The scab was about a ½ inch thick and took, oh my God, probably a month to heal. I could feel the pulse in it for a solid month. So that was the very first one that I got. Started off kind of bad because the guy was a little bit drunk, but it was my buddy Zombie at Talladega, Alabama, FCI. And he was actually a really great tattoo artist, but let me tell you, his skills didn't shine through on that one. All right, next up we got my leg right here on the inside, which I did these myself. This is a logo FTF, which means F the Feds, obviously. I did do that myself. It's 2 layers. You can see where I kind of missed whenever I went back over it because it wasn't that dark. The ink that I made the first time came out bad. I've always been pretty proud of how square the F's came out in the corners and stuff like that. It was a little bit tough for me, but when I went back over it, I kind of ruined the straight lines and angles of it, so it came out a little bit bad. Obviously, you guys know me. Got Blink 182 right there. I intended to make it look sketchy and like a Sharpie drew it, so forgive the X for the I and all that. I wanted it to look like that. I've seen shirts that have almost that exact font on it. Lowercase b on purpose. Also a reference to the song Aliens Exist by Blink 182. I'm really, really into aliens. I always have been since I was a kid. I like time travel, Einstein, theory of relativity, all that stuff. I'm very much into it. So this is an alien head. I was going to put We Out Chia and put a little goofy smile and stuff, but I didn't get around to it because I was not doing very good on it. This is not a Arby's hat. This is not a sombrero. It's not a hat at all. It's actually supposed to be UFO. Like I said, I didn't come back and put the lines around it for the flying saucer, put the little alien in it. And I was going to put a lot of stars around it too, but again, I just kind of gave up on it. I wasn't really happy with the way it was coming out. I didn't want to keep messing myself up. Next up, another one that I did myself, although I believe that Chris ran over it with a gun at one point, even though I guess you can't really tell. This is 5 years. It's for the time that I did in prison the first time. I guess technically now that I went back on violation, I should probably add another line right here, but we'll see what happens. I'd like to blacken it in because I didn't do a very good job of making it really line up the way that it's supposed to, but I believe that if it was thickened up or darkened and filled in, it would probably come out really well. So I'll get that touched up one day, but that just is a memorial for the amount of time that I spent in prison. All right, so the next ones are above the kneecap, and these are all ones, again, that I did myself, including the very first one that I ever did and how bad it went, not just picture-wise, but like physically how bad it went, combined with little practice that I did, as well as my ink testing spot. So get ready for this one. This is the very first tattoo that I ever did in my whole life. It says Jaded, obviously. I had to do it upside down. As you can tell, I drew it on a piece of paper and transferred it. I didn't really mean to make it black outline like this, but I think I missed a few dots and wanted to practice shading anyways. It didn't come out too great. The lines are extremely inconsistent. They're very, very thin right here and badly spaced, whereas they're kind of thick and peppery over here. Didn't come out very good. I did try to practice some shading while I had the opportunity, and I've never gone back in on it or anything like that, so it looks really gray and terrible. I did that myself. Got a party dog right here. If I'm not mistaken, I saw this in an alternative press magazine when I was inside, and I think this is like a famous dog for something. Franzilla's dog or something, I can't even remember, but it's some kind of merchandise dog. And me and my buddy Chris were in the shoe, and we would basically just sit there and make up funny stories about that dog and how he's like the time-traveling super dog alien that started all world religions and stuff, because we were just being goofy. And that's really about it with that one. It came out really well, I think, for me having done it upside down. I got a few diamonds. I just did that to practice my lines. Get back warmed up because I had not done tattoos in a while. You can see I messed up the bottom right here. And I got very, very, I guess off-center is the word. That actually got mildly infected. It's the only time I've ever had a tattoo get even a little bit infected. It was just that one right there, right at the tip, and it kind of got blurry. All this is testing. This was where I tested my ink on my leg before I would use it. I would just hit a couple pokes, wipe it, and if it stayed, then I knew it was good. I missed a few times, I guess, but I guess I could eventually do some kind of a connect the dots or something, I don't know. Same right there. Also, in prison, colored ink is extremely hard to come by. But I got some paint that allegedly had India ink in it, so we decided to try it out, and that's how it turned out. So the color did in fact stay, but it got very, very blurry, and also if I get really hot and sweaty, this red swells up and itches really bad and hurts a lot. So would not recommend using paint that has India ink in it and watering it down for tattoo ink. But it came out the way it was supposed to. It just took forever to heal, and now it acts up a little bit. This is a cartoon that my best friend that I grew up with, Bailey, and I used to make comic book characters out of. This was actually my attempted first tattoo, but right here at the tip of his nose, I had no clue how you're supposed to gauge the depth. And so I poked and the ink didn't stay, so I poked harder and the ink didn't stay. And then I actually stabbed my femoral artery right here and squirted blood all the way across the cell. And it swelled up like a grapefruit and turned purple and green. It clogged up. It clotted up almost immediately, so it wasn't that serious, but it did scare the hell out of me. And I was like, I don't understand. And Chris was like, you weren't supposed to go that deep, man. Are you crazy or something? So I moved away from my femoral artery, came up here and did the Jaded tattoo, and then came back to finish this because I had a big nasty poke right here. Once the giant purple and green splotch went away, I came back and finished it. So this is the all-seeing eye, which is obviously, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just think it's cool imagery, and I let Chris practice. It's way up on my thigh, so I just wore shorts and pulled him up because I wanted to see if he could actually tattoo or not. This is the first one I ever let him do on me. And plus I have like this weird purple spot from where I got like a bad batch of penicillin or something when I was a kid, which I'm allergic to. So I figured we'd cover it up. He just did the bricks. It started pick and poke, and then he did go over it with a gun and did the shading around it and stuff like that. And I'm still happy with the way that it came out because I do like the pick and poke style of art. Last but not least, we have my personal favorite tattoo. I spent 2.5 to 3 hours a day on every line of this. It took me 4 days. These are the first lyrics to the song I Miss You by Blink-182, which is my favorite song in the world by my favorite band in the world. It took me about 3 hours to do this line. 3 hours for this line, 2.5 or 3 hours for every single line. I did one a day across 4 days. And it didn't really hurt that bad, but it did actually come out really dark. I did all the font myself. I spent a long time measuring it to make sure it was even and spaced apart from itself. Came out great. I'm very proud of it personally. A lot of people still clown on me for having Blink-182 tattoos, but hey, when you get it, you get it. And that's probably my favorite one out of all of them, no offense, Chris, because of how hard I worked on it. And also, I'm just really proud for the way that it came out with the font and everything. So to the best of my knowledge, that is every single tattoo that I have on my body. If I have any more, I don't know about them. So I did a vast majority of them. Chris Knight pretty much did the rest of them. Other than that, I have like 2 or 3 spots that were done by other people. So big shout out to Chris. He did it all for free. I never paid him anything. He just taught me how to tattoo as well, and I did a few on him. And mine came out a lot worse than his did. Some of my tattoos are a little bit questionable as far as their appearance goes because they were done in prison under less than optimal conditions, but I accept it for what it is, and I'm totally happy with it. Some of them I'll get touched up, some will probably get covered up, and I do intend to get more one day. So big apologies to my family because a lot of them don't know that I got these, and I even lied about it at one point, but I have no gang tattoos or anything like that. And it was just kind of a status symbol that you oftentimes have to do in there because the only ones that don't get themselves tattooed on are oftentimes the ones with something to hide, particularly in their crime and charges and paperwork and stuff. So as you can tell on my shirt, I just got done today doing at the time of filming, I got done doing the Count Dankula interview. So if you haven't seen Count Dankula's stream that we did together, it was absolutely phenomenal. It brought me a ton of subscribers. I'm waiting on a episode of Lockdown 23 and 1 to air, and I think that's going to be great as well. I've been in touch with a few different YouTubers. Things have been going absolutely amazingly for me. And so really big shout out to Count Dankula. As always, shout out to Silent Core. I really appreciate it, all the love that I've been getting here lately. And I look forward to bringing you guys more content. Thank you all for subscribing. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, join my Discord server. We'll have it all. So thank you guys very, very much. I hope you enjoyed my prison tattoos, and don't go to prison. Y'all have a nice day.